Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sansad TV on expectations from the interim budget 2024 with your host Kriti Mishra. India is the fastest growing economy in the world and harbors the plan to become the third largest economy by the year 2030. In fact, India's performance on various counts, including local manufacturing and export push, has dimmed other developments in the world. An interim budget 2024 is expected to be another elixir cementing the economic progress. And to understand the expectations and wish list of corporate India, joining us is a very illustrious panel of guests. Mr. R. Dinesh, President CII. He is also the Executive Vice Chairman of TVS Supply Chain Solutions. Also joining us, Mr. Sanjiv Puri, President Designate CII. He is also the Chairman and Managing Director of ITC. Also with us, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General CII. I welcome all of you to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. And Mr. Dinesh, let me begin the program with you. Now, the capital expenditure outlay last year touched a record high of 10 lakh crore. The RBI report says that it is because of this focus that has led to crowding of private investments. Do you expect the momentum to be maintained?
Thank you. So I think if you look at it, I do expect the momentum to be maintained. In fact, CII's recommendation is that there could be a 20% increase in the capex spend. Of course, the previous year had a much higher increase. Therefore, considering the size of the overall pie, we are saying that it could be 20%. So which means from 10 lakh crores, it's going to go to 12 lakh crores. But I think before I finish, it's very important to note that this has been the single biggest change which has happened in India. And it is not just the money which is being spent, but it is the way in which the money has been spent which has made a big difference. And the digitization and the visibility of how the money has been spent, and equally importantly, it's helped the ease of doing business and the cost of doing business. Therefore, that's why we are recommending that.
Absolutely, sir. Ease of doing business, that's a very pertinent point. Mr. Puri, manufacturing has been long the Achilles heel of Indian economy. It has been the Achilles heel. But in the recent years, we've seen steps like Make in India, ease of doing business in the country, there's PLI scheme. How do we make India a manufacturing hub for the world?
So I think there are multiple factors that come into play. And what I'm happy about, and we're very encouraged in CII, is that many of these areas are being addressed through specific targeted policy interventions. Dinesh spoke about ease of doing business, cost of doing business, physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, I think the PLI scheme, energy transition, bring down the logistics costs. So all of these are steps in the right direction. Focus on high-end manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing, semiconductor chips and so on and so forth, which is also going to make sure that from a situation where the electronics are being, in a way put together in India with some imports coming in, India itself will evolve into an electronics hub, and we are seeing the transformation happen. Today, if you look at manufacturing, GDP 50% is the auto ecosystem. So similarly, we are seeing, that's also visible in our export basket. Electronics is going up. So it is all the, right steps are being taken, and there is a lot of potential in India to become a global hub. And the world is also looking for resilient value chains. The world is also understands the scale and the talent that's available, depth of talent that's available in India. And that puts us in a great position. And we do have all the policy interventions in place. The manufacturing, there's a special taxation for manufacturing, which has a sunset period. We are hoping that it could get extended by a couple of years. But having said that, let me say that corporate balance sheets, financial sector health, rationalization of corporate income tax some time back, all these actually are all enablers to create India into a vibrant and manufacturing ecosystem. So it's a journey. I think it is well started with great amount of enablers.
Absolutely, efforts to make India a manufacturing powerhouse. But Mr. Banerjee, a very important suggestion that CII gave, creating a full-fledged investment ministry, a single point of contact for facilitating investment in the country. That's a very, very interesting suggestion. Tell us more about that.
No, actually, what we really need is, investment. If you really look at the metrics, it is a large number of ministries involved in, obviously sector-wise. Then the other part is investments happen in a particular state of the country. and the policies that sometimes there's a lot of policy talking that needs to go on between different wings. So with all of that, that was the idea, is to see that today how well India is doing as far as you see, look, investments, if you see domestic, the private, domestic industry expanding, as well as foreign investments coming in. So all of this, the metrics is multi-dimensional, and therefore one was feeling that we need to sort of get a phenomenal focus, prioritization of investment, and easing for any investor, be it domestic or be it. So how do we really, in a stage when India is aspiring to be a $7 trillion economy in just a few years' time, and we feel that all of it is achievable, and therefore we need innovative, stronger measures and pushes so that we can get our story not just right, but really realize the full potential of what we have laid down as a foundation for a very fast and a sustained growth over a period of time.
Absolutely, point well taken, sir. And the industry doyens that all of you are, let's get on to some industry-specific questions. So talking about the auto sector, how well it performs also actually is the parameter of the health of the economy. The government wants to meet the energy target, 50% of it from the renewable sources by 2030. Do you expect a major mobility, green mobility push in the interim budget?
So I think it's more a question of how the direction is going to be laid for pushing green mobility. I mean, there's already been, in a way, a path laid out to it. And as we look at the evolution of how green mobility is going to happen, and with, of course, EV is one aspect of it, but you have green hydrogen also being spoken about, you have been spoken about the biofuels, and don't forget, India has got such a strong focus on the renewable energy side.
That's right.
That we have far exceeded even the Honorable Prime Minister's commitments in terms of the speed with which we are moving more and more towards it. Therefore, the way I would look at it is the budget will continue to lay the emphasis on support the evolution. But let us also not forget that, I think as has been brought out in the economic statement, it is not that the transition can happen overnight. And the funding for the transition and making sure we balance both elements of it is a very core focus, not just for industry but for the government. Therefore, for the way I would look at it is direction will be given, path to getting the funding will be there, and as the economic opportunity in that sector continues to grow, then that will be supported. And one last element I will finish with, I think this government's focus has been very much on equitable growth. Right. Therefore, if you look at the automotive sector, there is a large tier of MSMEs, smaller and medium companies, which support both component manufacturing and vehicle manufacturing and the aftermarket industry. So as this transition happens, it has to be focused on how they will also transition. That's right. And that's something which we in industry are very much looking forward to in the next couple of years, how the direction will go.
Absolutely. That's again a very valid point. Mr. Puri, what about the FMCG sector? Are you anticipating steps to push rural incomes?
Rural incomes. Well, you know, all the policy interventions that have been happening over a period of time, which are towards empowering the economy, bringing vibrancy and vitality to every sector, whether it's agriculture or manufacturing, and now there's also focused on tourism. Now, all these enablers are certainly contributing to the economic progress of the nature of the nation, and this is visible in many of the indices that are visible. Rural is an area where there is a lot of opportunity, and because of certain developments outside the country, whether it was geopolitical crisis, also of course COVID. So all of this actually were inflationary, and of course India has managed it much better than the rest of the world. We also have this issue of climate crisis, which impacts the rural economy more because there is higher dependence on the agri-value chains. So given that, I think it would be good to see some more, it's already happening, but provide some more impetus on the rural side and multidimensional in terms of infrastructure, whether it's housing or roads or other forms of infrastructure, or whether it's irrigation, and also how can we beef up health and education systems in those areas. Lot more focus there is very welcome. I think the rise in MSP, the bonuses that are going out for crops, that those are very welcome. So I think certainly, yes, I would agree with you that there is a lot more opportunity in rural, and as we go forward, I do expect that more and more resources will be available. It's not that it's not happening. A lot is already happening, but it's always about what is the next step.
And creating more demand, of course.
And creating more demand.
Absolutely, sir. Mr. Banerjee, there's also a lot of focus on digital technology. That has been the fulcrum of this government. There's a lot of talk on artificial intelligence as well. Do you see major announcements coming in from the government in that arena?
You know, I mean, as you rightly said, the digital story of India is a global story. It's a lot of. Now, today, AI is being discussed from many dimensions, many directions, how it can hurt, how it can benefit, how it can be, the disadvantages, or how can it be misused, a lot of it. Jobs, whether it's a threat or not, new jobs which can be produced out of it. So I would think, yes, of course, India could, again, is well poised to take leadership by creating much more deliberations across the stakeholders. So I think that's number one, is very, very critical. But what do we expect from the government in a budget? I think in many in the previous budgets that we have seen is when we have been faced with a priority or a focus that we have been able to bring into sort of the subject into a mission mode. So I would really look at how we can have multi-stakeholder involvement into a AI policy, a national policy, AI policy for India. Right. And I think a headline announcement with details following is something which could be a major start. Or even taking AI into a mission mode, or creating a special mission on AI, which could be very, very critical for as we go ahead as a country. In a country where we want AI to benefit every strata of the society.
Absolutely, sir. And quick closing comments from my guests. Sir, interim budget 2024 and Indian economy.
Excited. Future is bright. I think this is the best time for us to seize. I think this budget will just continue that path and set the direction for the future.
Mr. Puri, your closing thoughts.
I think Dinesh has said it very well. So I can only endorse what he has said. We would look forward to the vision being continued. And yes, India is in a very good position. It is India's time. India's decade, of course, but some people have said even India's century.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. Mr. Banerjee, I'll give you the last word on the show.
No, I would think that we would expect this budget to be a budget for all, a budget for everyone in the country, rural in India, the industry, the common man, the woman, the child, because we're seeing a lot of focus on women. So I think a budget for all is something would be my first expectation. And second, a budget which will again inspire confidence of the globe for us to be a very major player, a very major global player as we move forward.
Absolutely, the shining star, the globe. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for this erudite discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.